Welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show, where we believe that growth could come in many forms: professional, personal, company, sales, you name it. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, founder of Transcendent Sales Solutions and a guide to a world of growth possibilities. I've spent my career empowering companies and their people with strategies that accelerate growth. I'm here to bring you stories of these business leaders and their trusted advisors to gain insights into their journeys and learn how they fuel their own growth. Just maybe their journey could become part of your own growth story. Are you ready? Let's grow. Welcome to the next edition of Growth Catalyst Show. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, and I'm excited to have our next guest here today. Ray Godleski is a certified financial planner with Southeast Wealth Partners. He is dedicated to helping individuals and businesses navigate the complex world of finance and investment. Ray offers a wealth of expertise in financial planning, risk management, retirement planning, and estate planning. Ray, welcome to the Growth Catalyst Show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. And it's been so long since I've seen you, actually, right?
Right. In a few
I saw you this morning.
Right.
So Ray, I want to learn about you. I love doing research for the show and learning about people. So tell me, where did it all start from you? I'm going to make an assumption you're a Georgia native.
Yes, that's correct. I was born in Northside Hospital way before there was a women's center. Yep.
That's right. I think they call that in Northside Hospitals, most births anywhere in Atlanta, it's like the baby mill or something like that. So you were born at the baby mill.
Something like
the
that.
Baby factory.
Yep.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
And did you grow up in the Atlanta area or?
Yeah, so I grew up here, mostly in Lilburn, which is a suburb in Gwinnett County. And I'm a big sports fan, so I've had a lot of heartache over the years. Only a few nice moments.
Hey, I'm from Chicago. You don't know what heartache is, brother. When you talk about sports teams and heartache. So I saw that you went and started your education for college at LaGrange College, and you started out in mathematics. What was the plan kind of when you started college? I always like to hear, what was the plan going in? What did you wanted to do?
So I really wanted to play basketball. That was the number one thing. That was on my mind. I just wanted to play basketball. This is early 90s. And, so it wasn't tons of options, right? But it was one that made the most sense. And they didn't have an actuary program there, so they had mathematics. So went there, played a couple of years. And after a couple of years of playing basketball, I realized the NBA was not calling me. So I decided to go to Georgia State, where they have a really good actuary program there. So that's kind of like how I went from LaGrange to Georgia State downtown, and just kind of got out of basketball and just did intramurals and fun things. Yeah.
So I'm guessing you were either a point guard or a shooting guard.
That's correct. Yeah, I love the ball.
Yeah, you didn't strike me as like a power forward, but
no, I was not hanging up at the rim too much, but I like shooting threes. Yes.
So your path was thinking about being an actuary then?
It was. And as I got into it more and more, I was like, man, I don't know, because it was something my mom's like, hey, you're good at math, and they make good money. And I was like, okay. As I got into it, I knew I wanted to stay in business, but I wanted to change majors, and I was so close to just changing a little bit to finance. But my dad's like, what about marketing? I'm like, okay. They got really good looking girls in marketing, I think, and it's still in business. And it worked out because what happened in marketing, most people that were in that major, I noticed, weren't good at math. And so I ended up being a de facto group leader. And then the professors love it when you would, kind of support your thesis, if you will, by math. So it was great. I loved getting that business degree at Georgia State. It was a good experience.
It's funny. It was the same thing with me. I started out in accounting and I ended up moving to marketing as well. And then I think if your LinkedIn profile serves you well, you went into sales at Bortle Bricks.
Yes. Yeah. They're a multinational company. That's pretty much where I had a lot of good memories still. I mean, it's been a long time, but coming out, late late 90s in building materials. It was a lot of fun, and it was good, just a good experience. Yeah, kind of an entry level sales. And my first boss, if you will, was a retired Air Force colonel. And we had a great relationship. So I had a lot of good relationships there. Kind of just kept moving up, and got into management, managed a distribution yard. That is a grind doing that. But, as you fast forward many years later, being able to go through a grind is a really good life experience. And, but anyways, yeah, a lot of those people, kind of got crushed, and I kind of already left that industry before '08. But most people that I knew back then are not in that industry anymore. Only a couple people that I know. Yeah.
Yeah. '08 changed a lot for a lot of people.
Definitely so.
So then you went into real estate.
Yes.
From there.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
As I go through it doesn't quite make sense. As I reflect back, everything's working out for the best. So at the Boral Bricks, multinational company, you learn, there's these big budgets, right? And you try to expend it all so you can get the same budget next year for entertainment or whatever it is. Then my mom was one of the top realtors around, and kind of said, hey, why don't you get into real estate with me, residential? So I did that, and really didn't have great training on it, to be honest with you, because I went from a big company that you got to spend a lot of money and then go in there, buy out her business. And I'm running a small, business, and I'm not managing expenses well. My focus was on serving the clients and sales, but just wasn't super profitable when you think about '07, '08, '09. Those are tough years.
You're the only person I ever knew that actually
I did
got into real estate.
Right? I like meeting with people. I like analyzing it.
Got out of it, right?
Just the analytical part of it. So it was a really good experience. And my parents retired, and so it's kind of on my own with it. And so that was my first experience with a financial advisor, doing a 401k rollover. They didn't really talk to me about life insurance. So I just gave somebody I knew from high school a call to get some life insurance. But that experience did mean something, because in '08, when I was, looking at my portfolio get, crushed, the old saying, into a 201k, there wasn't really a great explanation for it other than it's just the market. And while that might be true, I think it could have been communicated differently.
Yeah. Well, so that was your kind of entree of, I never heard that term, to go to a 201k, to like, maybe this is my path to get into financial planning.
Yeah, definitely the seed was planted. Yeah. And also just wanting more answers. So, tax questions. I mean, I know, financial advisors, CPAs, financial advisors don't give tax advice per se, but, you'd like a little more direction, and I just didn't get that. So that kind of set with me that I'd rather be a hands-on kind of person and have people come to me for answers versus, having clients go do their own homework.
So tell me about the American College of Financial Planners in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Somewhere I understand you attended.
Yes. So it's mostly online. It's a great school. They're for getting different designations. My purpose for going there was to go through the CFP program, Certified Financial Planner, and very thorough, well led. It's just a great program, and it's truly comprehensive. It covers so many areas of financial planning, and so not every person that earns the CFP designation is going to remember 100% of what you learn, but what you do know is, hey, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things that you don't know what you don't know. And so for me, it's important to, if I don't know an answer, or if there's something that anytime we can, just do better. Let's do some digging and let's do better for clients. And now I got a good resource to go to if it's a really advanced kind of question.
Yeah, and really, and I don't know if I know the full answer to this, but the difference, and there's a lot of folks that do financial planning, but then they're certified financial planners and fiduciaries. Really, what's the difference?
Right. So to become a financial advisor, you got to pass some exams, right? So for me personally, I passed a lot of exams in 2014. And so that was what they call Series 6, 63, 65. And so you got to pass these exams. And when you pass them, that will allow you to do different things. So whether it's a mutual fund or advisory accounts, some people have insurance license. I have life and health license also. So the CFP exam, that's a whole different level. It's a different thing, and I don't know what the percentages are anymore, but not that many people carry that designation. You've got to go through a lot of studies, and you got to pass an exam to get that designation. Then you got to do continuing education. So there are some people that get it at some point in their career, and then they don't retain it anymore. And I plan to keep doing it because I like to always learn more. And anytime we can be creative, I want to do it.
Tell me a little bit about South. Is it Southeast Wealth Partners or Southern Wealth
Southeast
Partners?
Wealth Partners. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about them.
Okay. So this industry gets really confusing, right? When we're talking about broker dealers and RIAs, there's so many different acronyms and words that are out there. But for Southeast Wealth Partners, that is my DBA. So I own that. Before I got that name,
Okay,
I actually asked some clients. I said, I got it narrowed down to these three. I'd like your input. And they all came up with this. I was surprised it was available. So I was happy to.
The Southern Wealth Partners.
Southeast Wealth Partners. Yep.
Okay.
So
All
that
right.
was,
So I keep saying Southern Wealth Partners. So it's actually Southeast Wealth Partners.
yes, Southeast Wealth Partners.
Oh boy. All right. Mistake
Yep.
one of the day. So
Yeah. So, I'm under a big company, if you will, a big independent broker dealer. They're one of the largest. They're called Osaic Wealth Incorporated. And so, they're kind of where everything is done in a compliant manner. They're overseeing all the paperwork, that kind of thing.
got it. Okay. All right. So, one thing that's interesting, and I look at retirement planning, is I think about the evolution. I really want to talk about it. I think back when, my parents who are now retired. I mean, they had my dad had a retirement plan with a company. He worked for 20 plus years, which doesn't happen very much anymore.
Mhm.
And then there's that, the Social Security pension, the 401k and the IRAs coming in the late 70s, early 80s, then Roth IRAs. I mean, the way that people plan for retirement is really evolved really over the years. Agreed?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Definitely. I mean, it used to be so many people would have a pension, right? You have pension, you got Social Security, you got some savings that might enable you to have a really good retirement. And of course, a lot of the pensions have gone away. There's still plenty out there, but there's also quite a few have kind of gone away. And so the 401k is what has kind of replaced that. And for the employers, right, they like that because now, they don't have a liability to worry about. They have what's called a defined contribution. They know exactly how much they're having to put into these plans. So for the average person that wants to retire, nobody's really pushing you to put enough money away. It's got to be something you're compelled to do. And so, obviously I work with a lot of folks that have done that. They have put a lot of money away, but there are people out there that, they're just behind, and it's not uncommon that people are behind right now. Right. And it doesn't mean you can't catch up, but,
Mhm.
it does usually take you got to be a little bit intentional to get there.
hmm Well, and I think about when I was, corporate world, Dan, working for corporations, I had my 401k, my wife is in healthcare. She has a 401c. And I didn't really think about it. I was like, you just, you max out and put as much there. But then, the complexities of the retirement when you're a business owner, and I've been learning that over the past couple of years, is it seems like there's just a lot more options as a business owner that I didn't even really think of before when I started my business 6 years ago.
Oh, no, yeah, true. For a business owner, you got lots of options. And so I would say I work with quite a few solopreneurs and some small business owners. I don't get into the mid markets or anything like that, but there are really a lot of available options out there as a business owner, how you might invest, right? And whether you want to, there's solo 401ks, there's all kinds of, there's cash balance management, there's lots of different tools out there. And it's just a matter of sitting down with somebody. And I always say, just say what you want. What do you really want?
Mhm.
What do you want now? What do you want later? And then hopefully you got an advisor that can help you, kind of show you the steps to get there. A lot of times from a tax efficiency standpoint, not just this year, but like, where are you at retirement? What chess pieces do you have on the board to move? Because there will be changes that are going to happen, whether that's in the economy, the tax code, personally, things will change. And so it's really important to have a plan where you got different types of accounts so that you can make adjustments when those changes happen.
Well, you are 100% correct. And, catching up and, are you behind? And, I never really even thought about, and I'm sure there's other people out there the same as like, yeah, I mean, I'm saving and I'm saving my retirement. Then you hit a certain age and you're like, oh, wow. Like I used to think about, so, I didn't even think about retirement in my 20s or 30s or 40s, but now you hit your 50s and you're in your mid 50s and you're like, oh, wow, this could happen like in less than 10 years. And it really does creep up on you. Let's take a moment for a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the Growth Catalyst Show was brought to you by Transcendent Sales Solutions. Whether your company is facing uncertainty, declining sales, or resource limitations, Transcendent Sales has the solution. Their team has decades of experience helping businesses find alignment to meet their growth goals and transforming underperforming sales organizations into revenue-producing market leaders. They take a hands-on, results-oriented approach to solving sales challenges. Visit transcendentsales.com to learn more and subscribe to the bi-weekly Growth Catalyst newsletter for insightful growth strategies. Transcendent Sales Solutions, empowering businesses to reach new heights. And now back to the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good news is for some people, you're getting those peak earning years. Maybe you're a little behind, but maybe the expenses are less perhaps, maybe if you have kids, maybe they're off the payroll, so you really can catch up later on. So it's all about just picking a direction and get going.
It's kids on the payroll. One can only hope, right?
Yeah.
So, a couple of things I'd love to explore with you is, you look at insurance, and I know there's, again, if I would have listened to everyone that told me to get in a whole life policy when I was in my 20s, who knows? Maybe we wouldn't be doing this today, right? But yeah, you look at, when is it, you look at a lot of folks have life and whole life, which is definitely, I learned as an investment vehicle as a business owner, but then also you have term insurance. When do you get a point in your life when, again, if the kids are off the payroll and everything and you're secure, when people start winding down their insurance, or is that something that they typically don't do?
Right. So it really is an individual conversation based upon your goals. And so for life insurance, if you are married and you have kids, especially that are depending on you, it's so important that you get the right amount of coverage. That's the most important thing. For example, you may not want, a small policy that's quote a permanent policy that doesn't have enough coverage, right? So it's really important that you have enough coverage just in case you're that other guy, right? Because nobody believes you're the other guy, but sometimes it happens, whether you pass away early or become disabled, or have a chronic illness, whatever it is, that can happen. So anyways, as you get older though, then it's, if you did, let's say you had a term policy, right? Then you start to evaluate, well, what do I have in this term policy? Is it convertible? That's a good question to have. How's my health? Is it the same? And then, so do you want to explore term policies in your 50s? Do you want to explore permanent life insurance? Whole life's just one of the flavors of that, if you will. And so it's good to sit down and really do some analysis based upon what you want to do. There is some, I would say, almost evolution, if you will, in these life insurance kind of policies that you could access the death benefit while you're alive for chronic illness or long-term care. So there's a lot of options out there, and it can get a little bit confusing. So it's important, I think, to really sit down with somebody and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you don't understand it, at least at a high level, you may want to take a little more time before getting it, selecting one.
When you're talking about, and that's great advice, when you're talking about planning for, the long term, you start thinking about healthcare and you start thinking about health and, and I don't know, again, I guess everybody has an opinion, but, I don't really need to worry about healthcare as much when I get retired because I'll have Medicare.
Mm.
And, and I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard that. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. So one of the main reasons people work till they're 65 is because of healthcare, right? They wanted that group plan. That's one of the reasons. But when you do turn 65 or prior to that, I would recommend meeting with an expert in that field, right? Somebody that really knows Medicare. They know the supplement market. They really want to look at it because it's not one is better than the other. It really depends on your situation. Some of that's your health history. Some of that's what you feel about the future. So having an expert that really specializes in the Medicare age, I think is a good idea. HSA accounts are important, or should be important for your planning. So one of the benefits of an HSA account, right, is not just that it rolls over every year if you don't use it, but you're getting a tax deduction on the way in. And then if you use it for a qualified reason, you can take it out, tax-free as well. So there's very few things you can find like that. So that can be a good tool. Could it be used to pay for qualified medical expenses in retirement? Yeah. Could it be even to pay for maybe a long-term care? Yeah. You could do that. The only thing just to remember on HSA is how is it inherited? So that might be a little bit of a rub, but
as far as inherited, what do you mean by as far as inherited? What do you mean by that?
You don't have much time to take it out. So and depending on when this is recorded, just always remember that anything that we're saying, there is a government, there is legislation, things change. So you want to keep up with it. That kind of leads us to required minimum distributions, right? Those changed dramatically with the Secure Act. And then it changed again with Secure Act 2.0. So you just kind of have to pay attention with the changes that are being made.
And it's so hard to navigate all this stuff because it changes. They don't even know when it's going to change. And then it changes. And half of the people that changed it might not even know it changed. So it's very complex to navigate all this stuff. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So a couple other areas to explore is, annuities and guaranteed type income vehicles.
Right. So annuities, right, can mean so many things, right? There is a definition of it, but it's essentially within the annuity space, that is really everything in financial services has evolved. Annuities have evolved, life insurance, investments. I mean, think about it. 20 years ago, were ETFs that popular? No. So on the annuity space, some people think of it, it's usually one of two things. It's either a noun or a verb. The verb is, I've annuitized something and I'm going to get income for the rest of my life. And maybe you have access to the lump sum you started with, maybe you don't. Or it's that noun, which is, I haven't turned on the income yet. And sometimes you never have income attached to it. So they can be complex or they can be less complex. But essentially, think about from a secure income standpoint, when you're retired, a lot of times what some people might do is they look and see, well, what is my basic expenses, right? They're kind of minimum amount to kind of just live and not have to figure out when at the grocery store, count their items, right? Like you don't want to be that person where you're having to put stuff back and you're 70 years old because you can't afford it, right? So in my opinion, a lot of times you might want to have enough income coming into your household that's like almost like a bottomless cup of coffee. You're just drinking it, right? And it's income coming in the door like you're used to with the paycheck, right? So if you have enough income coming in that at least meets those basic needs, that's not a bad spot to be in. For some folks, depending on how big those expenses are, they might be a little light, or maybe they don't have a whole lot of Social Security income. Maybe there's any number of reasons they may not have some. Could be some pension offsets, could be they're a small business owner that wrote stuff off, they're in real estate, whatever it is. And so what some people will do is they'll have a income annuity solve that kind of gap between their income that's always coming in and their basic expenses. Other folks, Social Security or pension, that's more income coming in than their basic living expenses. So they may not look at annuities for income reasons, but they could look at it for protection reasons. You know, there's things that are out there. I can't get super specific because some of them have a fee, some of them don't. But no matter what it is, I think it's important anytime you look at one or two of them, what are the pros and cons? Because they all have pros and cons. It's kind of like, I like dogs, right? So, and this is not for annuities per se, but, you know, when you get a dog, you want to get the right dog for the right reason. So you don't want, a tiny house dog and then go hunting with it, right? And you don't want a giant, dog if you're looking for a small dog. So the same thing is true with anything that's financial planning, whether it's annuities, life insurance, investments. You just, none of them are bad by themselves. You just have to really find out what it is that you're looking for and making sure that whatever solution is being presented, that it solves that.
Mm-hmm. And then, what about Roth IRAs? I mean, I'm still learning about those, and I know, there's potential that because of certain incomes, you can't always invest in those, correct?
Yeah. So Roth IRAs, typically you're going to put money into a Roth IRA. Let's first kind of say what it is with after-tax dollars, and there's a maximum amount you can put in. I believe it's $7,000 this year for under 50 and up to $8,000 for over 50. So you put in after-tax dollars, but then it grows tax-free and you can take the money out later tax-free. There's a few rules there, but essentially that's what it is. And from a planning perspective, if you can have, maybe you got a 401k, maybe you got an employer matching you, or maybe you got you do your own solo 401k or something like that, and you got what's called pre-tax dollars. As I put money in those, I'm getting a tax benefit on the way in or reducing my taxes, right? Both of them grow tax-free. There's no taxes along the way. The difference is when you take money out of a Roth, later on, it's not taxable. Now there's a couple of caveats there, but essentially the growth, if you will, after 5 years, you can take it out tax-free. Whereas that retirement account is pre-tax, every time you're taking out money there or distributing that at retirement, those are going to be part of your income, and that's going to be taxable. So there are Roth 401ks also. So if you're looking for a higher limit, you want to put more away in a Roth 401k, you can do so. You can recharacterize money, right, that was pre-tax, and you can move it to a Roth conversion. And so when you do that, yes, you're going to pay tax when it converts, but you know what that tax is, and then later on you can use that money, hopefully tax-free. So from a planning perspective, I meet with quite a few people that have pre-tax accounts. I call it tax me later. They got a Roth account. Hopefully they're not getting taxed on that later. And then maybe have like a brokerage account, a taxable account that's like a tax me maybe on the year, tax me maybe account. So that's not a bad position to be in if you want to be able to, especially when you get out there in your 60s. It's interesting how capital gains is taxed, how your Social Security is taxed. There's Medicare surcharges. There's a lot of nuances there. And for people that really get, sit down and have a strategy in place to try to be tax efficient along with all the other things with financial planning. And then you could be tactical within each year. If you're tactically moving each year, kind of being tax efficient, you'd be surprised how much more money you could actually spend or give during those retirement years.
So what I just heard from you is, as you're planning, is you should look at balance. There should be some type of a balanced portfolio as far as tax, pre-tax, that type of thing.
I'm a big proponent of that. There are quite a few people that might have most of their money, maybe 80% or so, in pre-tax accounts. And so when that happens, if you have a certain lifestyle and you don't have, what I mean? That's where you're going to get the money from. It's going to be taxed. And should the tax rates change, the income tax goes up or the tax brackets, the actual brackets shrink, it may not be what you're looking for. You may be paying a little more in taxes in retirement than you were hoping. So nobody knows what will happen, but you got less room to maneuver.
Well, Ray, what I picked up from our conversation today is no matter what, there's a lot of strategies that you can use in retirement planning, but you have to have a plan.
Absolutely. And then you got to stick with it. So you got to be able to make some adjustments along the way.
Absolutely. Ray, last question. If someone wants to learn more about Southeast Wealth Partners and have a conversation, what's the best way to reach you?
Like, you go to the website, which is southeastwealthpartners.com. We have another one called yournextstepfinancial.com. Either one of those will get you more information. Those are probably the best ways. The other one would be phone number, right? So that's 404-456-0600.
Ray, I appreciate you taking time today, and thanks for being a guest on the Growth Catalyst Show.
Thanks for having me. Had a lot of fun. Thanks, Dan.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Growth Catalyst Show. Remember, you can take these stories of growth and make them part of your own journey. Learn from them, draw inspiration, and let them guide your path of growth. I'm your host, Dan Mahoney, and I look forward to our next journey together. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, keep growing.